I have a question for everybody. What in the fuck has happened to the Christian religion? This podcast is going to offend and enrage a whole lot of people, and nothing would make me happier. This is Unbelievable Reality Podcast. I'm Roy Arthur. Before we get started, as always, I like to reference some reading material for those that are still trying to read. It's amazing how much I'm seeing in the social media world about people encouraging other people to read. Grow your mind, have an original thought. I love this. I came across this in a bookstore. It's old. This author actually wrote this book in 1978, but I'm kind of a bit into philosophy right now, as you might imagine, given the state of our affairs. I came across this. It's called Aristotle for Everybody. I just fucking loved it. Aristotle for Everybody, difficult thought made easy. This is a perfect book for me. A layman's version of Aristotle. If you can find a copy, I have no idea where. Once again, written in 1978. If you can find a copy, it'll help you with Aristotle's philosophies and lectures. Put them in terms you can actually understand. So that's our book reference for today. So without further ado, let's just get into it and start offending people. I have a question for everybody. What in the fuck has happened to the Christian religion? Christianity in the United States of America is going fucking nuts. And I'm going to try to do a Cliff Note version of explaining what is going on so that the layman can understand that we are in probably the biggest religious movement in the 21st century. And from where I sit, this is not a good thing. And what's really creepy about this religious movement based on insanity and mythology is that their useful idiot is Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump, desperate to get votes from the evangelicals, remember how much we heard during the election about the evangelicals? Well, he got those votes. And the way he got those votes was by embracing this new radical movement that is springing up throughout all Catholic, Protestant, Baptist, all forms of Christianity. This new movement has taken root, and this is real and this is scary. And what makes it scary to me is that this new movement is exactly what's in Project 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you didn't know it, and most of us didn't, because we tend to treat Christians and Christianity as like, yeah, whatever, that's your thing, as long as you do your thing and leave me the fuck alone, I don't care. Kind of like most Americans are in regards to other religious practices, whether we believe in them or not. I personally don't. I don't read fiction, which is why I don't ever quote the Bible. But my point is this. The new Christian movement is militant. And it's not about just having influence in schools or local government or in economics. Oh no. The new Christian radical movement is about Christian domination of the world. Of the world. With no exceptions for any other religion, or, here, I love this, I love this quote, or the us, the folks that don't believe, that are called unhumans. What's really crazy about this movement, let's go, I'm going to start at the beginning. I'm going to digress because I have to, but you need to know where this began. This began way back in the 60s with a professor, actually, named C. Peter Wagner. 1960s, he was in charge of the evangelical movement in Bolivia. He was a follower of Billy Graham, who really began the evangelical movement in the United States on a grand scale. Think about it. Growing up, and if you're under 30, you don't have any fucking idea what I'm talking about. Everybody older than that, though, remembers the tent revivals that would come through town where you could be saved and born again. Yeah, well, Billy Graham took that and put it on steroids, and he discovered the radio and television is a really great way to get the evangelical message out. Now, Billy Graham was not particularly radical, although he was. He was definitely a racist, and his son, who is now a radical evangelical preacher, is even worse by 100 times. But let us go back to the beginning. 1960s, Bolivia with C. Peter Wagner. He starts this movement, which is now turned into, it's actually got a name now. It's called the New Apostolic Reform, otherwise known as the NAR, which I will refer to as we go through the podcast. And this new apostolic reformation is fucking insane. It's crazy. It is absolutely nuts. These folks believe in modern day prophets and apostles. Apparently they're being born every day, all the time. Ex-salespeople, ex-social media managers, etc. somehow turn into prophets. First of all, when did Christianity all of a sudden decide that it needed more prophets? Weren't the prophets in your supposed Bible, the book, the reference book, at least one version of the Bible? There's been several hundred versions of the Bible over the course of history, but most Christians conveniently ignore that. Anyway, this modern group, the Nationals, the NAR, believes that there are new prophets and apostles appearing amongst us every day, all the time. They also believe in demons, exorcism, and that it is the church's holy mission to claim the earth as the kingdom of their God. Their God. Their version of a God. Once again, I don't believe in mythology. There's a reason why we study Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Egyptian mythologies, because their gods no longer exist. But for the Egyptians, they existed for 2,000 years. For the Romans, about 2,000 years. Basically, no, from about 500, before current era, BE, to around 1400 current era, CE, something like that. Before current era is what it is now, as opposed to AD, after death, before death, BD, anyway, fuck it. 2,000 years they believed in their gods, but they no longer exist either. The Greeks believed in their gods for 1,000 years. They no longer exist either. Because why? Because they were mythologies. Because they didn't exist. Just like Christianity is a mythology. that is having its moment in human history. One has to wonder, when AI wakes up, if Christianity will still be nearly as relevant as all these people desperately believe. The purpose of the NAR is that the church has become, in terms of Christianity, an army of God. This is a militant take. Forget the turn the other cheek bullshit. That doesn't exist for this new wave of zealots and disciples. And they readily admit that this kingdom, this apocalyptic kingdom, because that's another thing about the mythology of Christianity, it's apocalyptic. Very similar to the mythology of the Jews. It's apocalyptic as well. Funny how the two religions kind of mesh, both with end-of-world scenarios where the chosen anointed one, their God, shows up, picks the good people, the rest get a rotten and imaginary hell. So back in the 60s, Wagner starts this movement. What's terrifying today is that 40% of American Christians believe in this movement. That demons can not only control individuals, but they can also control territories, institutions, and enterprises. Demonic possession. To these people, this is rational. This is rational. Sit with that for a moment. If you saw one of them on the street corner, which we do now, all over the country and the world, proselytizing about the second coming of Jesus and etc., the end of the world, the apocalypse, you'd be probably calling your local cop saying this guy needs to go to the loony bin for a while. But 40% of American Christians believe this shit. There's more. What's amazing is that this spread. One of the pastors in the early movement was John Wimber, who was the lead singer for, wait for it, the Righteous Brothers. Okay. Then along in the 80s came the Kansas City Prophets. This is a group of prophets apparently from Kansas City. Who knew that was holy ground, right? I mean, other than if you're a Chiefs fan. But anyway, from Kansas City came a whole bunch of prophets. And one of the biggest disciples of, once again, Peter Wagner, happens to be this dude named Lance Wallnau. Well, Peter died in 2020 something. Lance Wallnau was Wallnau. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Wallnau. So I'm going to say Wallnau. He is his biggest disciple. And he, by the way, had a conference during the campaign that jdvance happened to visit and endorse and was blessed by Mr. Wallnau, who is convinced that there's a thing called the Seven Mountain Mandate. And what this is that Christianity, there's 7 mountains, examples: media, politics, capitalism. Those are 3 of the 7 mountains that Christianity is destined to ascend and hold sway over. This is part of this NAR fucking movement. Another poll. 61% of modern day American Christians believe that there are new prophets afoot in the world. 61%. 61% that Christians believe that speaking in tongues is an actual spiritual experience. Back in the days when the guys would handle the snakes in the tents in the deep south and get bitten in the face and die, everybody knew they were batshit crazy. This fucking shit is mainstream, folks. This is mainstream. And this movement, the NAR movement, is so embedded in the Trump administration, it's everywhere. Stephen Miller, Russell Vought, jdvance. The list of 2025 contributors and authors, I've spoken of this in other podcasts, go back and reference them. The list of them that is in this administration equals about a third of the administration. We have no idea how deep it goes into the sub-positions in the administration. And these are Christian radicals that are firmly convinced, religious zealots that are firmly convinced that the world is coming to an end and only the Christians are entitled to survive. Does this not sound anything at all like the Islamic movement? The merging of church and state in the Middle East. How well is that worked out? Either the people are enslaved, i.e. Saudi Arabia, Dubai, the United Emirates, Qatar, or they're in complete ruins, or soon to be. That would be Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan. Okay? How well has church and state worked out together? But that is what, they don't want it to be church and state combined. They want it to be church, Christianity, controlling our government, deciding by divine providence and by the word of current day prophets what decisions to make. Ring another bell? Well, let me ring one for you. Does this not sound somewhat similar to the Church of Latter-day Saints, i.e. the Mormons, and their Latter-day Prophet? Joe? Brigham Young? Does it sound anything like that? How well did the Mormons' master plan to own the southwestern portion of the United States of America work out for them? How did their Zion come to pass? Right. They ended up with Salt Lake City. Utah's still part of the Union. There's more. There's an academy called the Vanquish Academy that teaches classes in convergence. What in the fuck is that? Alignment. And then you can get a kingdom assignment. Going back to, once again, the 7 mountain mandate. Those are apparently 7 kingdoms. You get assigned one of them. Obviously, I guess if you work at the White House, you're in the kingdom of politics. Then this is where it really starts to get crazy. Now they're also believing in online prophets. One of the biggest happens to be a guy named Dutch Sheets. They're prophesizing online. There's also a media site called Flashpoint, where every day they report the news directly from God. That would be their God, the Christian God, the one from the mythological book called the Bible. Oh, by the way, they do believe in a Christian Zionist Reformation movement, so they're going to include the Jews in the kingdom somehow. I don't know how, because for the last 2,000 plus years, all Christians have done is murdered and banished and defiled the Jewish people. But now we're all going to kiss and make up? Apparently Benjamin Netanyahu is one of their latter-day prophets. There's some things that are going to happen in this new Christian world that apparently we're all supposed to get ready to live in. Total abortion ban, end of gay marriage, book bannings, mandatory teaching of the Bible in schools, public schools, religious prophecy dictating policy for foreign affairs, retreat from foreign relationships, embargoes and tariffs, etc., to punish non-believer nations. This is all on the agenda, and it's all spelled out in 2025. Once again, check out another podcast. The end of all of this, though, is really fucking crazy. They call it the harvest. And us folks, the unhumans, are not part of their great harvest, which will hasten in the restoration of the kingdom of their God once again. I have no idea how to make even. I am so absolutely blown away that in 2025, in the digital age, in the era of AI, which if AI becomes sentient, the first thing it's going to do is disprove all religions. Period. Done. It's all knowing, it's everything. It's all. AI is as big as the universe. We cannot comprehend it. But one thing for sure is it's not going to endorse Christianity. But here we are at 2025, where we're on the cusp of AI. Quantum computing will give AI the capability to be beyond our capabilities. It will be alien intelligence, folks. It will not be artificial. But quantum computing, that's today. AI, today. Cryptocurrency, today. Multi-ethnic populations, today. We live in a modern world. We have electric cars, for fuck's sakes. We're shooting rockets into the sky almost on a daily basis. There's 7,500 satellites circulating the Earth right now. Apparently those are some part of a biblical prophecy I cannot figure out. Here we are in 2025, and this is on the rise. This is on the rise. And this is positioned right now and is taking over our government and is being funded by our oligarch friends because it suits their needs. Capitalism is one of the 7. It suits their needs. It suited Donald Trump's needs because those votes made the difference. These people make the mega moron maniacs look like children in a sandbox, which they are. And most of these people happen to be members of the mega party. This country was founded on religious freedom for all. All men shall be created equal. We all know that was a fucking laugh. But religious freedom was a massive cornerstone because all of the religious people that ended up coming to the New World were persecuted elsewhere and ran for their lives because their zealotry, their outlandish beliefs were so hated by the religious leaders in their countries, Germany, England, France, Spain, fuck, you name it. They had to run for their lives, and they came here, and trust me, they weren't the best and the brightest. If you were rich and you were in England, you paid people to come to the New World. You didn't fucking go. There was Indians and disease, and you had to cross an ocean where you could drown, and then you had to get here and live in shitty conditions. Who the fuck wanted to do that? They sent the worst. on leaky boats. This movement is an imminent danger to democracy and this very democratic republic. And a dialogue needs to be opened up. And this needs to be exposed for what it is. It's insanity. Based on fear, mythology, greed, and avarice. All covered in a frosty layer of a desperate need for power. What better way to get your religion across than to control everybody else's lives? And if you don't think this is coming for you, when they get rid of the minorities, when they get rid of all of the undesirables that we're currently trying to deport, and then they move on to the next level, just figure out who they're going after next. Eventually, it will be back to you, you white Christians, when they start figuring out which of you are true believers and which aren't. And then you'll be persecuted too. This is an unbelievable reality here in the United States of America in January of 2025. I'm Roy Arthur. These are my takes, opinions. You can look this up, and there's a wonderful article in the Atlantic, the title of which, "The Army of God is Out of the Shadows." Check it out. These are my opinions. If you don't agree with them, you don't like them, hey, turn it the fuck off. If you do, if you've got opinions of your own, you want to share them, comment, subscribe, follow, support. Check me out on the various platforms, TikTok, Instagram, no Facebook on purpose. Instagram slowly fading.